Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Jim Masters Show Live Entertainment Lifestyle Talk Show Series. We're kicking off a new week together, and it's great to see all of your smiley faces, everybody tuning in literally from all around the world. We, of course, broadcast here in the greater New York tri-state area between New York and Boston along the southern New England coast, and it is a beautiful day here. It was a little cloudy earlier in the day. Now, of course, later in the day, 74 degrees, mostly sunny, and we are just a couple of blocks from the coast. And as you guys know, the avid Lovity fans of our series, I am definitely an ocean guy. You got to drag me out of the ocean, swimming, surfing, boogie boarding, sailing it, walking it. And to have the ocean so clear and close right next to us, really, really nice. Hope everybody is doing well. And we were very busy. We had guests all weekend long. If you caught any of the shows, David Osmond was with us. We had an amazing show live from Ireland. We had Mairead Healy, the wonderful Irish soprano, yesterday. Earlier in the week, Ethan Slater, who starred as SpongeBob SquarePants on Broadway, was with us. Marion Ross was with us recently as well. You know her, and Mrs. Cunningham on Happy Days, and Judy Norton from the Waltons, and Joyce Bulifant, the amazing actress, was with us too last week, and so much more. Busy week we have coming up. On Thursday, we have Billboard charting artist Billy Gilman with us. Of course, you know, he was on The Voice. His coach was Adam Levine. He hails originally from Rhode Island, USA. He's with us on Thursday. Brilliant singer. He's all excited. We're all excited as well. Good to have you with us. Hope everybody's doing well today. If you're having a bad day, you know this is the place for light, love, levity, and our famous Lovity. We have guests that come in from Broadway and Hollywood and television and film and science, health, wellness, inspiration, food, sports, and then some. And we always have a good time, inspiring conversations and great entertainment and levity, and sometimes even some poignant moments too. We go deep, and surprises, because we're live, you know, anything can happen. We toast everybody tonight. Looks expensive. It looks fancy, right? It's just Trader Joe's cranberry juice. But in this glass, it has been elevated to a very fancy martini. It is Monday. It is just cranberry juice from Trader Joe's. How is everybody doing? It's good to see everybody. Of course, we welcome you, as we always do, here on the Jim Masters Show Live. And wow, look at all these comments already here. Our audience, if you're watching for the first time, we welcome you. Our audience calls themselves the Lovities. They call me Mr. Levity. They call this Levity Hall, the Jim Masters Show Live, because in the summertime last year, and I say this usually in the beginning of each show, I said the show is a lot of light, love, levity, but then I said Lovity. And from that day forward, the show took on a whole new feeling, and really cool. Welcome to the show. We welcome you as well. We welcome all the Lovities who are watching all around the world, United States, Canada, Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia. You are welcome. Don't forget, while you're there, subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's that red button you see right now on the channel you're watching, which is Jim Masters TV. Click that red button. When you hear subscribe, don't be fooled. There's no cost. That's for some reason the word that they use, subscribe. So just click that. And there's also a bell icon next to it. And that's important. You want to click on that so that way you'll be alerted every time we have episodes. We also do on location episodes, and we've done surprise pop-up shows where it's just you and I, the host, and the viewers chatting. And we just did a 3-hour epic host viewer chat pop-up show episode last Friday. If you didn't see that, check that out. We have another one coming up soon too. So click on that. And also while you're on YouTube, on our Gym Masters TV channel, make sure that you give this episode and all the episodes you've enjoyed, over 430 episodes we've done thus far, a thumbs up, a like, and drop a comment underneath as well. Let us know how much you enjoy the show. Today, very special guest live from Los Angeles and Hollywood and wonderful California, a prolific and award-winning television writer, playwright, and screenwriter. Jamie Pachino is with us. We're going to welcome her in just a second. First, we like to greet all of you. Maureen is here in Arizona, and she says, oh, what a day. It must have been a rough day at the hospital there in Arizona, and all the heat, and you guys have been really, really hot there out in the Southwest. I desperately need some JMS Live stat. We love to hear that. Hello and happy Monday, Jim and my lovely family. Good to see you, Maureen. And in Arizona, Maureen's in Arizona. Anne is in Jacksonville, Florida. Hi, Jim and lovely family. She says, hope everyone's week is off to a fantastic start. Absolutely. I had a busy day on the air today with my professional hat. And here we are now with all of you. Sherry is in Kansas. Good to see you, Sherry. And Merlin is in Ontario, Canada. Hello, Jim and all lovelies. Good to see you as well. And nice. I love all these comments. I love all this levity that's coming our way here. Christopher Joseph is watching from Ohio. Welcome, Jim Masters and all the lovelies. Good to see you, Christopher. Ralph Lampkin Jr. is here from Indiana. Good evening, everyone. Good to see you, Ralph. And of course, Merlin is welcoming Jamie to Levity Hall. You know, Levity. I already told Jamie about the Levity thing. She loves it. She says, bring it on. She's ready for it. Mary Bishop in Florida says, hello, Jim and Levity friends. And Joan Sandow. Hi, Jim and Levities. Good evening. Good to see you as well, Joan. And nice that your humidity is down there in Kansas. I know you guys are really struggling there as well. And Jen is watching in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Cold, regular lemonade here, refreshing as she watches our show. Jane is watching, of course, one of our regular viewers from Sweden. Good to see you, Jane. She says, hello, all lovelies. And Jim, good to see you as well. And everybody here. Alessandra is watching from North Carolina, USA. She says, hi there, Jim and my lovely family. Good to have you here, Alessandra. Merlin says it's dreary and humid in Ontario. Well, hopefully that'll change soon. And cheers to you and salute to you as well. And everybody that's watching. A lot of you like to post live during the show. We love that. Some people just kick back and watch and they don't comment live during the show. But I'm very interactive with audiences and I love to have opportunities to go back and forth with you. So it's cool to have you guys here and to have you interacting. Don't forget, you can also watch this and all of our episodes after the fact in the archives at Gym Masters TV. That's right. So if you miss anything with this episode, don't fret. You can see it all again. We always archive all of the episodes of our series. And sometimes I even go back because, when I'm hosting the show, I'm in my zone. All the adrenaline is flowing. I'm doing what I'm doing, hosting, producing it. So I like to kick back as a viewer sometimes and watch the work and enjoy and remember some of the levity and everything else that happens during the show. Jamie Pachino is here live and direct from Hollywood and Los Angeles. We're very honored to have her here. She is extraordinary at what she does. And I have to tell you, there's no way you haven't seen or heard her work. She's an award-winning playwright, screenwriter, television writer whose work has been published, awarded, commissioned, and honored. Her TV series are extensive that she's had involvement in, including The Right Stuff, Disney Plus, co-executive producer. Charlotte Walsh Likes to Win, Amazon, co-executive producer. Sneaky Pete, Amazon, co-executive producer. Brave, NBC, co-executive producer. Chicago PD, NBC, supervising producer. Halt and Catch Fire, AMC, co-producer. Franklin and Bash, TNT, executive story editor. Fairly Legal, USA staff writer. She has written pilots for Bad Robot, Rush of Blood, and FX, Normandy Gold, and was included in the most recent class of the Writers Guild of America's showrunner training program. She's also written teleplays for Amazon and I know, listen up, folks. I know you guys, a lot of you love the Hallmark Channel. She's written teleplays for a multitude of Hallmark Channel and Hallmark movies and mysteries as well. Holly and Ivy, On the 12th Day of Christmas, Godwink Christmas, Second Chance, First Love, The Bridge, Part 1 and 2, Christmas Under the Stars, Bramble House Christmas. I'm sure you've seen these. Meant for Love and on and on. Really amazing. She's written also features for DreamWorks, Disney, Vanguard Films, Lionsgate, Walden Media, and so many others. As a playwright, Jamie is the author of over a dozen plays that have been seen in 4 countries, awarded, commissioned, and published. And she's been named the winner of the Kennedy Center Fund for New American Plays Production Grant and the Laurie Foundation Theater Visionary Award, Chicago's Joseph Jefferson Award for Best New Work, and so much more. This is just the short list, folks. She's amazing. She loves what she does, and we are very honored to have her here again, live and direct from LA. Jamie, welcome to the show.
Hi, so happy to be here. Thank you.
Oh, it is my pleasure. My pleasure. Welcome. We'll have a good time today, and the Lovedies are all excited. They've been talking about it all day and looking forward to your appearance on the show. How are you doing, and how have you been through all this craziness we've been experiencing the last year or so?
You know what? I've held my own. I have to say it's been nuts for everybody. Of course, I've been lucky to keep working through it. I've been fortunate to have my husband home. My kids managed their way through it. I think we all sort of handled it just fine, but we're all ready to get out and back into the world for sure.
How have you kept, I ask a lot of the guests, especially in these industries, how have you kept creative, connected, collaborative, and sane through it all? And usually most people say, hey, Jim, the sane part, I'm still working on that. I'll get back to you.
100%. I would have said the exact same thing. I've been really lucky. I've had some work come my way. I was working on The Right Stuff, which I think you mentioned for Disney Plus, and a couple of Hallmark movies and some personal development. That means creating pilots and trying to get those sold. So I've been juggling a lot. I mean, it's been great to have the time to do it. I miss being in a room with other people. Part of TV series writing is that collaborative process, and I miss it. I love being in a room with others and making stuff. And so that's the part that I've been missing the most. Yeah,
I know what you mean. I agree 100%. And Joan says, welcome, Jamie, to Lovely Hall. Very nice to meet you.
Thank you, Joan.
And in Florida says, I've been watching the Hallmark Christmas movies all month on Hallmark Channel.
Love that. Love that.
Yeah.
Yep. I've done a bunch of those.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, Jamie from Jen Barry. She's in Pennsylvania. And Maureen in Arizona, welcome to the Lovely Squad, Jamie. We're thrilled to have you as Jim's special guest this evening. Anne says, hello, Jamie, from a warm welcome from Jacksonville, Florida. From Sweden, welcome. Lovety, Jamie. So you're already a Lovety. I mean, there's Peabodys, Emmys, Grammys, Tonys, all of these awards. We can get Oscars. But then when you get a Lovety on the Jim Masters Show live, it's pretty cool, isn't it?
Totally take it. Are you kidding? What a nice warm welcome. Thank you, everybody.
Oh, yeah. Mary in Florida says, welcome. Alessandra in North Carolina. Hi, Jamie. Welcome to Lovely Hall. Welcome to our big, loving family. Christine Clifton in North Carolina. Hi, Jim and lovely friends. Jamie, welcome to the show this evening. Glad you could join us. And that's just a short list of welcomes that are coming in here. Christopher Joseph also saying the same thing. Welcome. What an exciting career you currently are having. Sherry Larson in Kansas. Welcome, Jamie. Kathy Short in Cleveland, Ohio. Good evening, Jim and Jamie. And Lindsay Jones says, whoa, nice hair. Lindsay was on the show too as a guest. Nice hair. Who, Jim or Jamie or both?
Both.
Let's split that 50-50.
100%.
I'm a fair host. Kathleen Walker says, hi, Jim. Hi, everyone. Welcome, Jamie. She's in New York City as well. So everybody everywhere is welcoming you to the Jim Masters Show live. How did you first get into this extraordinary, unpredictable, crazy, and phenomenal world of television and theater and so much more, Jamie?
I sort of backed into what I'm doing now. I started as an actress. That was my big goal. I wanted to, set the world on fire on Broadway and acting and musical theater. And I was doing it. I went to school in Chicago and graduated there and was working as an actress in Chicago. And I was working my day job, and somebody there bet me I couldn't write a play. And I took the bet. And I wrote the play. The play got produced. It went pretty well. All of my actor friends said, oh, write us one. So I wrote one, and I was a member of a company, and they said, okay, you're our playwright in residence now. And little by little, the work kept getting, I was really fortunate to have the work produced and work it out with my friends and have this great opportunity in Chicago. And little by little, it just became the thing that meant more and more to me. The acting sort of faded into the background and the writing took over. And I was acting and writing simultaneously for a little while, but ultimately it was the thing that I really wanted to do. And I got lucky I had an agent, a manager, and things sort of took off from there.
What was the first big opportunity from your perspective that really opened the doors for you and people started to really notice your talent and ambition and drive and said, she's really good. Let's bring her on board. Were there some opportunities in the beginning that you look back to now and say, wow, that was a trigger moment?
Well, I think there are a couple. It's a great question. I think there are a couple because there was the very first theater that took a chance on the first play that I wrote. And there's nothing like somebody saying, we believe in you enough to put our production behind you and promote it and bring in audiences and give you a chance to really hear and feel what it's like to walk and talk it on stage. And then as I started developing and growing as a writer and having more and more success with it, I really wanted to get to the next step. I wanted sort of bigger theaters and bigger opportunities. And I had this moment with a literary manager out in Oregon who said, you need to start writing for the size of the theater that you want to be in. And I had this play that I was working on, and it was about a mountain climber and a sculptor. And it was just it had the opportunity to be a very big thing. And she said, write it like you have no budget, which no one ever says to you, right?
No, never.
No one ever says, write like
Not
you have no budget.
even for a commercial.
Not for anything. But she said, pretend like you have no budget and imagine what it could be. And I wrote a play that was different from the other things that I had written before. That play was co-produced by a company called Naked Eye, but with Steppenwolf Theater in Chicago. And that was a big launching moment for me. And then there was one other piece, which was the play that wound up getting optioned for a film, and sort of that rolled into the Los Angeles. That was the beginning of what rolled into the Los Angeles career. But those I feel like are the big markers for me.
So you knew that you loved the acting, but the writing really started to take over, which was extraordinary. And then that opportunity, those opportunities there were monumental. What happened from there?
So I had a play called The Return to Morality, which was optioned for a movie. I started I was living in Chicago at the time. I started going back and forth between from Chicago to LA and New York to take meetings with people, to do what they call general meetings, where you get to meet producers and network executives and whatnot. And little by little, that thing never came together. What's hilarious about it is that's really the thing that brought me out here. But that project never came together. It was one of those where a production company picked it up, a studio picked it up, a director was attached, it went into casting, and the whole thing fell apart twice. But it became this sort of calling card for me. And it was a great sample of material that opened a lot of doors for me. And that was what got me out here in terms of meeting people, starting to get the opportunity to pitch movies, to work on television movies, and eventually to work on series. So it's a process. You start small and you start, having smaller meetings, which lead to bigger meetings, which ultimately lead to things getting produced. And that was how it sort of went for me.
Did you lean towards drama or comedy? Was there something inside you that pointed you in a certain direction as far as formatics and style and genre?
Yeah, no, I love writing drama, but I can't do it without humor in it. I just feel like there's no need to whack people over the head and not make them laugh at the same time occasionally. So I don't write anything that's sort of straightforward joke comedy, but everything that I write has humor in it because I can't get away without it. But yeah, my instinct is like 1 hour drama or, dramatic TV movies like that. That's what I do.
So as you were coming up the ranks, who are some of the people that you admired, whether they're performers or they're writers? Whose work were you always looking towards as a source of inspiration?
I was always looking for people who walked that line. I love to write big, chewy, idea-based dramas that are really about the human beings inside of it. So I have a lot of work that's like the backdrop is the military, or it's politics, or it's the media, or these big chewy background things. But ultimately, it's always about the two human beings, or the, several human beings that you're putting in the script, and what they're going through emotionally, because you can't walk and talk an issue on stage. Nobody leans in for that. And so those are the writers that I always looked up to, were the ones where there were big social ideas in the mix, but ultimately it was about human behavior and how that rolled out, and to make people feel and lean in for those reasons.
Were there productions, TV shows, movies, things of that nature that you really called upon that are some of your favorites as well?
Yeah, I loved I always say I loved a good Sidney Pollack movie. He directed Out of Africa and Tootsie and The Way We Were, and just all of these great big idea dramas about two people. Those are the things that I just love. So looking at those kinds of movies, I love, the Tony Kushners of the world, who tend to write these the Tom Stoppards of the world, who write those big sweeping epics, but in the middle of it are these, heartfelt stories that are, the thing that you really lean into and want to see.
How about like the On Golden Ponds and those types of movies?
Yeah, I do. I love a lush heart. I like to. My heart is on my sleeve. I don't tend to write as deeply as that, or as emotionally as that. But I love. That's the stuff that I love to watch. That I'm a big fan of. So, but I'm a complete, because I grew up in musical theater. Like, I will watch a musical all day long. I will watch all sorts of things that I don't. It's funny because there's stuff that I like to watch that I don't write, and there's stuff that I like to write that I don't watch.
Right, exactly. Isn't that funny how that works?
Yeah.
So television, theater, the blending of it all, is there one area that tugs at your heart more? I know that's a difficult thing to answer because they are similar but have their uniquenesses, but are you a musical theater person at heart that does all of these other things? Or are you a television a kid of television? Or
well, I'm a musical theater person at heart, but I think that's been put away for a while. I really am a theater person at heart.
Yeah.
But what's funny is, when I got into a writer's room for the first time for TV series work, that was where I really found myself as a writer out here, out in Hollywood, because because it's very much like theater. You have one group of people all trying to tell one story well. Everybody's got a sort of part of it. You get to go through to production. Often when you're working in features or TV movies, you're not a writer on set. But when you're in television series, you get to be a writer on set. So you're with actors, you're with the art director, you're with the props people, and you get to have a hand in everything in the way that you do as a playwright. So I would say, if I had to choose, it's sort of playwright, TV writer for series are the things that are married together for me.
What's really beautiful is when you hear the actors, actresses, and performers pay, respect and homage and heed to the writers. I mean, Lucille Ball always did that with I Love Lucy. She said, if it wasn't for the writers, we can only do so much, but the brilliant writing, and there's been so many television shows that are so well written, and other productions. I recall one that isn't talked about as much, but Aaron Spelling was once quoted as saying, of all of the shows that he had involvement in, it was the one he was the most proudest of because of the storyline, because of the family dynamic, the brilliant acting, the writing, and that was Family on ABC.
Oh, I love that show.
Zeta Thompson and James Broderick, Christy McNichol, Gary Frank, Meredith Baxter Burney, Quinn Cummins.
It's a good cast.
Really good casts, and the storylines there, Pasadena family, and the struggles of family and life and all the different things. Do you like material like that too, where you have that family dynamic and you have them as a family going through things, but then you have each of the family members going through various things as well?
Yeah, no, I love working on an ensemble piece like that. And I also, I've gotten a chance to do a lot of the stuff that you're talking about. I have had a chance to do on the Hallmark side of things.
Yes.
Because there's so much about relationships and family dynamics and all of those wonderful things. Those are the ones that you get to really explore in those kinds of movies. And I've had a lot of chances to do that. I love it.
How much, and this might be kind of educational for the audience watching, how much leeway do you have when you're writing a script whether it is for television or theater or what have you, to insert some of your own experiences, meaning some of the experiences you've had in life can become ideas for storylines. I guess it depends on the project and what's going on too, and the other writers and the producers. But generally, are you able to insert various experiences you've had? Like Norman Lear, of course, a lot of what we saw was things that he experienced growing up and things that he has shared about his family dynamic. How about you?
So what's great about a writer's room is that's all you do. There's, I've been in one that's 4 people. I've been in one that's 10 people. So anywhere between 4 and 10 people sit around and they start telling stories, right?
Yeah.
Because what you're doing is you're building characters that people want to come back to see every week. And so in order to do that, you always bring a little bit of yourself to it. Even when, I worked on a military show for NBC that feels like it's a bunch of really highly talented military operatives. And you would think, what does Jamie have to offer to this? But the truth is, every one of them is a human being in a work situation that's trying to navigate this dangerous thing with their humanity. And so you're always sitting around in a writer's room, or even if it's just a movie and it's just you as the writer with the executives or the producers that you're working with, everything is personal. And I feel like if it isn't personal, then you've lost a piece of it, right? There's so much to mine there with all of the different stories in a writer's room. When people bring themselves in, it only gets better.
Sometimes you can almost think of the writer's room almost as, the jurors being sequestered, and now they have to put this and wrangle with a lot of it and come out with, the verdict.
Yeah.
When you're all together and everybody has sometimes different ideas, who wins? How does that work as far as you have this idea, then this one has this idea, and this one wants to take it into that direction? No, I don't like this idea at all. I don't want my characters going in that direction. How do you work all of that out so it's not only fair and equitable, but it results in a, quality product continuing?
So in a TV series, you have a bit of a hierarchy, and the lead is the creator and the showrunner. So the showrunner is basically usually the person who has created the show, meaning they wrote the pilot, they came up with the idea, the network bought it from them, they produced this pilot, which is the first episode, and then they build a writer's room together, right? So the showrunner puts together the writer's room and puts everybody in it. And so the showrunner is the one with the vision, right, for the whole series. The writers are there to help build it. The writers are there to help expand it, talk about it, bring to the showrunner ideas they may not have thought of. They may say, what should happen is that person should die in episode 4. The showrunner is the one who has the ultimate say, who says, not going to kill that person off then, or ever, or not till the end of the first season. So you're always in a negotiation talking about how the work should move forward and how to build it. But at the same time, there is one creative voice who gets the power of veto.
That's good to know. I was aware of all of that, of course, being involved in productions, but I think that's cool for the audience to learn. How do you describe writing for television versus for movies and for theater? Some of those nuances, a lot of similarities, but some of the breakdown, maybe some of the nuances and the uniqueness of each style and each category.
Yeah, the way that I talk about it is that writing for the theater allows you a little bit more dream time. Yeah. That there aren't the same sort of structural boundaries that you have in TV, especially if you're working on a network show. You have a commercial. You are selling things every 8 to 10 minutes. And so the way that you're building it is a tiny bit artificial because you're trying to go to a certain hot point, commercial break, to make them come back and tell the next part of the story. So it's like chapters of a book, right? If you're working on network or basic cable where they have commercial breaks.
Right.
When you're working on streaming, like Amazon or Netflix or that, and also in a play, and even more, I think, in a play, you can dream a little more, right? There aren't those artificial boundaries. You have, if you're working on a Netflix show, that episode can be 42 minutes, it can be 54 minutes, it can be an hour and a half. But on network, it's 42 minutes and 30 seconds, the end. That's it. That's all you get. Yeah, so there are liberties that you can take in streaming, and then even more, I think, in the theater. The biggest difference, of course, between theater and working on film or TV is budget, right? You just don't have the same kind of budget. So what it requires of you is a bigger imagination. How do you put a military base on stage? It's very literal if you do it in film and TV, but it's not on stage. So there's a whole different imagination that comes with the work on stage. And I think I've been really fortunate to be able to balance both, to be able to have the opportunity to go off and have this sort of dreamy, moment of putting together a play is just a different animal for me. There are no deadlines. Nobody's asking you unless you've been commissioned. Nobody's like, where's the play? But there are very serious deadlines in TV, especially because something goes on air every week. So you got to write, and you got to write fast.
Does that ever become problematic where, because you are up against the clock and you got to get it in a certain amount of time because there are commercial breaks and station identification and all the different things, does it ever become an issue, or do you thrive on the challenge? Okay, this is the time we have. This is what we've got to do. That adrenaline of knowing you've got to do that, those juices are flowing, actually can be a positive in certain ways.
I was going to say that's what I find it to be a positive. I like the challenge of it. I've been on, we've been in production. I've been on set when they're like, we're losing this location tomorrow. We have to rewrite the entire sequence, and you're like, okay, well, I guess that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
I actually kind of love that challenge. It's harrowing and it's kind of nuts, but it is part of the fun of it. Or you lost an actor, or, I've been in a place where you're losing the light and you got to change everything. It's just you kind of got to turn on a dime, which is honestly part of the fun of it. And I've done that in theater too, where it's not so much about the timing of it. It's about the ability of the production to handle what you've decided that you want. I have sort of famously, I have a play where at the end of the first act, the skylight breaks and floods the stage. And I've put in the script that you can flood the stage or you can flood the stage. You can do it however it works. But there are definitely people who have done it. And there's artwork that breaks and gets remade every night. So it's this insane sort of thing. Theaters will come to me and say, is there a different way to do this? And I say, of course,
Yeah. Right.
If you're committed to the play, I want to figure out how you can make it work.
Exactly. Alessandra is watching in North Carolina. She is. What is the most favorite thing you have been involved in? Got to be a tough question there.
That's which child do you like best kind of question.
Right.
I will say the play I was just describing was the one where that was the no budget. Imagine if you had no budget, which is why things break and get remade every night and there's water and craziness. That was a big breakthrough for me as a writer. It was a big breakthrough for me as on the creative side, writing as a writer, but also on the professional side with some recognition, won a couple of awards but it was also meaningful to me. I lost my dad when I was, relatively young, and this was many years after, and it didn't really have anything to do with him personally, but it was about a teenage girl who had lost her dad. Yeah. And the size of the grief and the emotion that I felt matched the scope and the size of the play. And it was beautifully produced in Chicago with Naked Eye and Steppenwolf in this incredible set, the lighting, the music, the actors. It was everything. One of the first times I'd ever written anything that I went, oh, it's so much better in their hands than I ever even imagined. And so it's hard to top that one. I have others that I could say, oh yeah, I love this and I love that and I had a great time doing this other thing, but it's hard to top that one because it was the culmination of so many things. And I think it was right after that I got pregnant with my first child. So it was just like this moment in my life.
That's a good
when everything kind of came together. Yeah,
gelling and coming together. Right.
Definitely. Yep.
And that's something you hear often from writers. Sometimes they'll have a vision as they're writing, and then the actors and actresses will take it oftentimes to another level through their performance that just goes even beyond the initial vision. The initial vision is extraordinary, but then they bring elements of themselves and things come, to fruition and rise to the surface that really blow you away, huh?
It's true. I mean, I've been so lucky. First of all, I started in a talent pool with Chicago actors, which they're some of the best actors on the planet. So, and they're also collaborative and ensemble based, and they just sort of take your script and kind of rip it apart and talk to you about it. It's just it's the best playground in the world. And I feel so lucky to have acted with Chicago actors, but then also to begin my career as a writer there and work with, small theater companies, those kind of storefront spaces where you get to fail and grow and be reviewed and understand what you've done and see how it works and have feedback from. It's just like, it's the greatest training ground in the world. And I feel so lucky to have had it. And the most fun, many years later, I worked on Chicago PD for Dick Wolf Productions. And so I was going back to Chicago to shoot, and every single episode I wrote had somebody that I had either acted or written for on the episode. I had nothing to do with casting. Oh, there it is. There are my boys. I had nothing to do with casting on it, but because the pool is so good, there was always somebody on the episode that I was so happy to see. It was somebody I had worked with when I lived there.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that wonderful when that happens? It really is. Because you and I were talking before we went live on the air. It's such a small universe.
Yeah.
These industries of, theater and music and television and film and radio, stage, all of it. You end up, I can't tell you how many times I've worked again with people that I used to work with years ago, or now they're the producer, or I am, or they're the host, or I am, or whatever it is, or we're on the same set or in the same studio. And you're like, oh my God, we worked 15 years ago and here we are. It's just, it's amazing how all of these things come together. I
love it.
And it's really, really cool. It really is. I mean, it's really cool. I just want to show too, some of the amazing projects that you've had an opportunity to work on. You mentioned Chicago PD. What was that like? I mean, really cool series.
It is a cool series. It was really interesting. I worked on it. I worked on seasons 3 and season 4. So that was 2015 and 2016. And I have to say, I'm glad that I was working on a police show then. And I know a lot of people friends who are working on police shows now, and it's a completely different animal, right? With everything that's going on in the world, the way that you approach story is completely different. And so I had a different experience than I think I would be having right now. But there were veteran cops who were our advisors. And so you could go to a guy who'd been on the job for 25 years and be like, all right, I'm talking through this story with him. And he would give me this amazing background and insight into the life of being a cop, particularly in Chicago. And it was just, like I said, it was so great to go back to my old stomping ground and work with those people. It is, we were doing 23 episodes a year, which not many shows do anymore. And so you are really writing a lot and fast. Yeah. And so it was just this amazing training ground for me.
That's something that makes me think of this question, and that is how you have to pivot oftentimes to reflect the moment, to reflect what's going on in society. Like you said, when you were writing then, even in just the few short years since then, so much has changed. And just the last year, obviously, everything we've been through with the pandemic and all. How does that happen when you have maybe a storyline and things that are going, and then all of a sudden the world completely changes overnight? That pivoting, that sort of reflecting what's going on, incorporating into a script what's happening in society. If that particular production calls for that, obviously it could be, a Christmas special where it doesn't necessarily reflect what's going on today. But if you're working on the kinds of projects that have that feeling or reflective nature as far as what's going on day to day, how do you incorporate that in?
It's a great question because so some shows right now, they write all their episodes and then they produce them. And so they're already written by the time they're in production. And so you're not as nimble as you could be if it was like PD is a great example, which is if you're writing 23 episodes, the way that it often works is you write about 6, you get into production while you're writing the next 17. And things start airing while you're still writing, and you can get the audience's reaction to what you're working on. You can get the feedback, you can get beyond ratings. I'm talking about like their visceral reaction to the storylines that you are putting up. And so as you're getting to episodes 16, 17, and 18, you can really pivot and you can change episodes, and you have that ability with things that are already written in the can and produced in that way. It's not as easy to do. And so you're kind of shooting arrows and hoping for the best that they land. But the longer episode, the shows with more episodes have a much better ability to do that.
That's terrific. I want to show a couple of more wonderful photos that we've been sent.
That was my first. That was my first produced credit.
Fairly Legal, huh?
Yeah, that was my first staff job for writing.
Yeah, that's a definite freeze frame moment.
I know somebody took that picture and sent it to me. They're like, "Look." It was so much fun.
What was it like working on Fairly Legal and on that?
I loved it. I loved it. If it was still going, I'd still be on it. Unfortunately, they canceled it.
I know.
That was my first show. It was the best experience. The showrunner was so delightful. He was fun and smart and efficient, and it was like the schedule was so good, and I got to write a lot, which you don't sometimes get to do on your first show, and I got to go to set. I learned so much so fast on that show. I loved working on that show.
Did you love it?
I loved it. I know. I said it a bunch.
Oh no, that's awesome. That's passion.
Not every show is an easy show to work on.
No.
And I think if that hadn't been my first experience, I don't know whether I would have kept pursuing series, but because it was, I was like, oh, this can be like magic. Let's just do this.
Now, what makes a show easier than others? Is it the personalities involved? Is it the location? Is it the budget? I mean, all of the above?
It's a lot. Mostly it's the people.
Yeah.
I would say 90% of it is the people. Often, if the writers that you're working for and the showrunner that you're working for, the production team that you get to be involved with, if they all see the same show, which is important, if the producers and the network, if everybody's on board and you all have agreed you're producing this particular show, and everybody is doing their hard work without being a pain, and they just do, it's such a pleasure to work with people who know what they're doing, who are ready to do it, who can do it professionally and on time, who can have a good time doing it. And that's not always the case. I have been very fortunate that mostly it's been the case on the stuff that I've worked on, but the ones that aren't are really great learning experiences. And you go, oh, this is where it all falls down. And it's mostly people.
I can relate to that. I was on a TV shoot in New York a few years back, and I was tapped to be spokesperson for this major automobile chain of dealerships in the New York tri-state area. And I was the on-air spokesperson guy. And, on sale now, we have this car and the whole bit. And they brought in an actress who actually, her background was more modeling. And it was one of her first commercials ever. And this was a major commercial airing on all the New York area TV stations. It was a big, expensive campaign. So it was an honor to be a part of it. But the producer I had worked with before, and he also owned the company that was producing it. And he was a stickler, and he was a perfectionist, and he wanted the best. And if it took an hour, 10 hours, whatever, and we were outdoors, so you're up against the sunlight and all these different things. So you're gonna, and he would want to do a take multiple different times. But I understood it, having working in the industry. He wants us to shoot it 50 different ways, so he has 50 different takes, and he can always use and blend the different takes for different versions of the commercials. So the actress, they were all the other fellow actors and actresses were trying to give her some tips, because it was her first time on a set in this commercial shoot form. And she, during the downtime, when she wasn't on, she was my companion. I was the male spokesperson. She was the female spokesperson. So she had a major role in it. And she, during the downtime, when she was waiting to go back on set outside, she was showing everybody and sort of pitching her modeling work. And the other actors and actresses who, came in from New York were saying, don't do that. Don't let him see that. You're acting. You're the actress.
Do the job with you.
Modeling thing. Congratulations, but close the portfolio. And then again, she didn't realize, but she started, I guess, verbalizing her displeasure with what the offerings were for craft services and the speed in which we were going to be breaking to eat. And again, they were like, shh,
Yeah, right.
you've got this major role as co-spokesperson.
Yeah.
Don't say anything. And they were trying to, and she didn't listen. And we didn't see her again.
Yeah,
That was it. Yeah, that was, they tried to give her tips, and that hasn't always happened, where sometimes the other talent isn't necessarily going to give you other tips, but they wanted to help her. Yeah. I did too. And sometimes those things happen.
Sometimes you got to learn the lesson the long way.
That's it. I mean, you can't worry about the craft service sandwiches not meeting your taste.
Got to be happy that somebody's feeding you.
Yeah, at that point, and just the gig itself, and actually it turned out to be like a 5-year ongoing campaign.
Oh man, that's nice.
One of those incredible things. I love this.
Oh,
that's a table read, right? Tell us about this.
That is first of all, it's Carmen Roman, the actress who I'm with. And it was a developmental reading of my play Other Than Honorable. And that was at American Blues Theater. They have something called the Blue Ink Award. And so they brought me in to develop my play Other Than Honorable. And that was at a rehearsal. That was such a great workshop. Directed by the fantastic Kimberly Senior. Yep, that's all. So that's Kimberly Senior, who I'm talking to. And then this incredible company of actors and support staff that we were working with. Boy, they were great. Oh, I just loved it.
That's fantastic. Now, have you seen an increase in women now coming to the table as well as writers? And has there been an emphasis on that within that part of the industry? Or has that always been the case where women have it at the table, women have been part of the equation? Or do you see that growing?
It definitely didn't start out that way.
Yeah.
I will say that it's gotten significantly better over the years, that producers are seeking out women's voices, women's stories. The characters that are on TV that are female characters are more, they're more flawed, they're more complicated, they're more complex, they're more interesting. They're not just holding the bag for somebody else. And that's been, I couldn't be happier. That's what I love to write. I love to write big, chewy female characters. And it's definitely changed. It's got a lot of ways to go, but it's definitely changed over the years, that there are much more opportunities for actresses, much more opportunities for female writers and female identifying producers, that there are all these different, I think they have been more welcoming of a female perspective and story than they ever have before.
Which is terrific, because
it's just amazing.
Yeah, and it just makes the stories more realistic and authentic and dynamic in so many different ways, which I think is fantastic. Here's another.
Oh God.
We did our research. We do our research around here. We dig.
So that's me on the right. That's from
Lobo a Go-Go.
Lobo a Go-Go, which was one of the best, most fun, crazy musicals written by Jeff Richmond, who, if you watch Girls Five Eva, he wrote all the music for that. He wrote all the music for 30 Rock. And that's Elizabeth Hullum and Tina Kalari. And we were the girls, we were like the pink ladies of that musical, if you know Grease. You're sort of the backup girls.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, I love it. It's a werewolf musical. It's amazing. I loved it.
Do you miss performance? Do you still have a hankering sometimes to say, I'm writing this, and the one that would actually play it well is me?
Okay, so there's two answers to that. One is I do kind of miss it. I miss acting and I miss rehearsal, but I don't miss being an actress. Like, I don't miss the business of being an actress. So I've let that go. But the funniest thing is, every now and then I'm in a writer's room and the showrunner finds out that I have an acting background, and they're like, oh, we'll put you in something. And I'm like, great. All I really want is to do one day where I go, do you want fries with that? Or like, how are the donuts? You know what I mean? That's all I want. And every single showrunner has been like, absolutely, we will totally let you, we will put you in, we're going to get you in. It's never happened.
It doesn't happen.
I'm still waiting for, how'd you like your fries? How would you like some fries with that? Right? You put me in a little, waitress uniform. I'd be
That's it. Yeah.
It'd be so good.
When EF Hunting talks, people listen.
That's right. I could do that. I could totally do that.
Those taglines. I
I
tell
know.
you, I know. Here's another. Now this is
Oh man.
Pippin.
Yep.
Was it 1982? Wow.
Yeah, so that's Me in the Air. I that was the first professional show that I did outside of high school. I was 16. And that was at Towson State University. I had the best time. That's Calvin
Mm,
Grove holding me up under there. And it's funny, that was the first professional show that I did outside of high school. And then in Chicago, Pippin was the first production I did in an equity house. Obviously different production.
mm. You know, it's really interesting.
Hmm.
Lisa Marie Schultz, welcome to the show, Lisa Marie. Great to have you here. As you see, my guest up in the air in Pippin back in '82. She
Hi,
says
Lisa Marie.
you're competing right now with your Hallmark movie, The 12th
That
Date of Christmas, right now. So
is
lovely to see your
amazing.
face. So you are in stereo right
That's
now on the Jim
amazing.
Master
Thank
Show
you.
live. Well, that is airing as well. Kind of cool, huh?
That's amazing.
That what is it like doing that, having the relationship with and welcome, Lisa Marie. I hope you'll join us regularly on the show here. And what is it like working on some of those, the heartwarming movies like those Christmas movies for Hallmark and others?
It's great. I mean, it's a completely unique opportunity because they're a very specific animal. People just love them, and so I get all sorts of wonderful feedback from people I don't even know who reach out to me who have really embraced the work that I do there, and it's a great group of people to work with. I love this. I love the stories that you can go deep and emotional and heartfelt and a little goopy and a little, sweet, overly sweet. That it appeals to a side of me I don't get to express very often in the work that I do. So to have that opportunity it's really great to be. I mean, I think you said it. I have this sort of weird range of things from cop shows to Hallmark movies to, all sorts of things. To be able to have that as well as some of the other stuff that I get to do is really great.
It's a nice balance, isn't it? To have
It is.
you're able to call upon different elements of yourself
Yep.
as you're tackling those individual and different unique projects, right?
Definitely. Yeah. I love the chance to be able to do as much, diverse work as I've been able to do.
Yeah, and you have, and people love it. And like I said in the beginning, there's no way, somebody, whether it is through theater, television, or what have you, hasn't seen or heard of your work.
Hmm.
Here is Pippin '89.
Oh my God. So that was I love that
This,
picture.
I am Ralph Edwards, and this is your life.
Right? You are. So that was my extremely blonde phrase. That's my actual hair.
Wow.
That was back in the early 90s when it was permed and platinum.
Yeah.
Which of course you would cast me in Pippin. That is at the Apple Tree Theater up in Highland Park, Illinois, which doesn't quite exist I don't think it exists anymore, but it was a wonderful space. And that was, like I said, that was the first equity show I did.
That is really, really cool. And the Roxy in Chicago.
Oh yeah. So that's at Western Maryland College. And boy, I love that show. That's Chuck Graham on the left and Julie Herbert on the right. And I loved playing Roxy. Oh my God, I loved it.
Yeah.
It did a lot of Candor and Ebb.
I was going to say, yeah, absolutely. I love that shot.
That is from *Halt and Catch Fire*. That was the first time that I got the director's chair with my name on it. I didn't know that was a thing until I showed up that day, and they were like, "Here you go." Like, oh man.
Now, do you get to keep that or
no?
No, you figure
It turns out you don't.
You don't.
I think sometimes they give you the little black thing that slides down with your name on it, but
Yeah.
I don't think I wound up with that one.
You didn't get that either.
I have to call some people.
Slave Play, the opening.
So that is Lindsay Jones, my husband, who I believe you interviewed.
Yes.
I know you interviewed.
Yes.
That was the opening night of Slave Play on Broadway, which he did the music and the sound for, and is currently nominated for 2 Tonys. And so we're going to go to the Tonys at the end of September, and keep your fingers crossed for him that we'll come home with 1 or 2.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Lindsay was great on the show. We loved having him on. Super talented. And those of you watching, that might be a revelation. You didn't know that Jamie and Lindsay are a couple. Absolutely. And that is fantastic. That's double lovity. We call that double lovity on the Jim Master Show.
I love that. Yep.
That's double lovity. And here's another shot.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's fun.
Sneaky Pete.
So yeah, that's Sneaky Pete. That was on set. We were on location at that one. They had a staff photographer who came around and just kept shooting pictures. And so she sent me this one, and I love that one.
That is cool. That's a great shot too. How did you and Lindsay meet? How'd that happen?
We met so way back in Chicago. We were both actors at the time when we met, and I was a member of a company called Straw Dog Theater, which he was working at. I was a resident company member, and he was had done a show there. But the way that we originally met was my best girlfriend, Michelle Duffy, said, "You got to come hear this band play." And she took me out to see this band, and that was Lindsay's band, the Nubile Things. And I was like, who's that? And then the next night we wound up at an opening night party for Straw Dog, and we started talking. And then the next night we wound up outside the theater, and the next night we had our first date. And that's how it happened. And we've literally been together since then, which was 1994. Yeah.
Amazing. Congratulations. And Lindsay just chimed in and said that the slave play poster is in the background right now.
Oh, yes.
So
okay.
it's
So
behind
wait,
you there?
it's right like backwards there, that. So that's the slave play poster. He's right. And it's
Very
signed,
cool.
It's signed by the whole cast. I don't know if you can see it, but there it is. Right.
So, see, once you're able to get the pointing down on these kinds
I know
of
I'm
things,
backwards. I'm having such a hard time with the backwards.
you'll be able to do your local weather, and you can point to San Diego, Sacramento, Vegas.
Yeah, no, I'm having a hard time being like,
Hawaii.
wait, it's that way.
Everything is reversed.
Yeah. It's a little strange.
Yeah. It's funny. More really great things here. The Nap opening as well.
Oh, that's great. So that Lindsay did the music and sound for that. And that is Alexander Billings, who is just a genius. And so that was the opening night party for that.
And what was that like?
It was great. You know, I don't think there's anything better than going to see your spouse doing his best work or her best work. And that's how I feel about, I mean, Lindsay's just a genius, and his work is always spectacular. It was really great on the Nap. It was especially good on Slave Play, but I've literally never gone to see his work where I was like, nah, every time I'm blown away. So,
you know, I'm sure, and that's a beautiful thing that you say it in that way. And I'm sure he says the same about you when he sees your work, or he sees you home working, you know, late into the night, getting the scripts done and what you have to do, sort of rooting for one another. How about, you know, working on the same projects together and collaborating together on things?
We have. So Lindsay did the music, like Waving Goodbye, which I was talking about, the play. He did this incredible score for that. He's done, I want to say, Morality, Aurora's Motive. And he even scored things that I was in when I was still acting. So that was really crazy and fun. One of the first, when we first started dating, he did the score for a production of Burn This that I was in, that I just, oh man, I loved it. That was when he was acting and figuring out he was a sound designer, and I was acting and figuring out I was a playwright. Right. But he's done the music and the sound for a number of my projects. We collaborated on something together, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. He's just a joy to work with.
That's beautifully said, and super talents you both are. A couple more coming in here too. This is looks like it's Waving Goodbye.
Yes, it is. Oh gosh. So that's Julia Neary, who unfortunately passed away. It's just a brilliant Chicago actress. And that is this beautiful set by Rick and Jackie Penrod. And the lighting was by Jamie Smith. And the waters, I said, this is the end of the first act, when it's a New York skylight, the New York loft apartment, and the skylight breaks and floods the stage. And they captured that moment. And it was, oh God, it's beautiful. And it's just, the photo itself captures that feeling. Yeah. And I just, like I said, that play was really special to me. So that photo really captures it for me.
Lindsay, I knew he would chime in, which is perfect. He says, I do say the same thing about her.
That's nice.
Hearts from Lisa Marie, and that's so cool, and great photos, and thumbs up from Merlin in Canada. And she asked something else too. What is it like to work with the Tinkers?
Oh, is that Mark Tinker and Jake Tinker? Is that?
I would think, right? Is that what you mean, Merlin? She's up in Canada. Is that probably?
So, Both of the, so Jake Tinker was a writer's assistant when I was working on Chicago PD. Mark Tinker is a very, very famous, well-known producer, director. And he's delightful. He's a little insane, but he's in a good way.
Any relation to Grant?
Yes.
Tinker?
Yes, but I can't remember how
The
math of it all.
Tinker, you know, from
yeah, so it's
Mary
the
Tyler
Tinker.
Moore.
Yeah, it's the Tinker famous sort of TV family. Yeah, they were both amazing to work with. Mark directed one of the episodes that I wrote for PD. So yeah, no, it's a great treat when you get to work with somebody with that much experience and that much, skill. It's great.
Unbelievable. Here's another great shot.
Okay, so that's Edward Albee,
Yeah,
very famous playwright. In 2000, I want to say, I won this Kennedy Center Award grant, and
yes, congratulations too.
And that actually was the grant that allowed Naked Eye to help develop the play Waving Goodbye. Suddenly everything's coming back to Waving Goodbye. Yeah. And they had this big ceremony at the Kennedy Center, which you can sort of see in the background. And Edward Albee was the presenter. And so he handed me that award as one of my very favorite memories.
That's extraordinary. Congratulations again on that.
Thank
I know
you.
that one of those pinch me moments, I'm sure.
It is. It is. It's still up. That picture is up in my on my bookshelf. Like, you can actually wait. I'm going to try and again do the backwards thing. It's right there in my office.
That was very good.
Okay. I'm working on it.
She's also a director on the side.
Nope.
Speaking of that, I mean, are there other things in addition to the writing and the acting you've done? Obviously, when you're on set, you see all the different elements to how productions are put together of all kinds, and it takes a village, as we know. Are there other things that tickle your fancy a little bit too, or is the writing and, of course, the acting, but the writing always the central focus? Would you ever toy with other producing in other areas for yourself, directing?
So the acting is really relegated to Do You Want Fries with That? But the writing is my lane, right? That's just the lane that I'm in, and I love it. For me, the next thing for me, what I'd love to do is run a show, to be a creator and showrunner. I really don't have any interest in directing. I know people have asked me that a lot, and it doesn't appeal to me. It's a completely different skill set. I'm working on the visual side of writing for television and film has always been the learning curve for me. Coming from theater, you want to write character and dialogue, and you can hear people talk, and that's my go-to. Yeah. The visual parts of it, all of the structural elements of that, those are the ones that I work on and have built, my muscles on over the years. But I don't have any interest in directing, but I would love to be a showrunner, run a show.
Now, for the audience's education, tell us what a showrunner does.
I've heard showrunning described as 3 full-time jobs plus problems.
Yes.
And I think that's a really accurate description. Basically, a showrunner is responsible for everything that you see creatively, right, for the show. So all of the scripts go through the showrunner before they go to production. And then all of the budgets go through the showrunner before you go to production, and all of the problems come to the showrunner. So in addition to managing the actors and the heads of departments, like the head of the art director, the production designer, the head of the camera crew, the DP, like all of these jobs, right? They all answer to the showrunner, and they're the ones who hire everybody. They're the ones who fire everybody. They're the ones who set the budgets. They're the ones that make the final. They're really the buck stops here of the entire production in TV. But it's also, so that's the great fun challenge of it. It's also when things go wrong, the buck stops there too. So if you have a problematic actor, or you've got directors that are in conflict, or you have, like I said, like a location goes up in the middle of the day, or anything, or there's a pandemic, right? The showrunner is in charge of handling how that works in the entire show. So it sounds like the coffee runner, but it's really the show runner. It sounds like the word sounds like a small job, but it's a giant job.
I think a lot of people that are in the industry might think of the showrunner as the person who is running around all the time and might even bring the script to the person, might be getting the coffee, might be answering the phones, but really flip that around, running the show
Yeah.
in a very important and crucial way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very stressful too, I would imagine. Yeah, it's, you got to really want to do it and love it, right?
You do. I think all of those things are true. You have to be passionate about what you're doing. And it is also, you're not just dealing with the show itself, you're dealing with everybody who has an investment in the show, which are the network, the studio, the producers, the marketing people, the audience. You have all sorts of stakeholders, is what they call them in business, right? You have lots of people who have an investment in it. And the other thing that somebody had said to me recently, which I thought was really, really smart, was it's the only job where you go in and ask for the job, right? You go in and pitch something to them and say, I'd like to do this. And if they say yes, what they're ostensibly doing is handing you tens of millions of dollars and saying, good luck. And so the responsibility of running it. So it's one thing to be a writer and to be able to write something spectacular and to be like, that should be on air. It's something else to be a manager of people and to run the operation. Those are two separate skill sets. Some people have it and some people don't. Some people learn it on the job. Some people don't. But it's a really demanding job.
Yeah. It takes a certain kind of person, right? You got to really absolutely love it. And you love what you do and you're so good at it. Here's another cool shot.
Oh, Georgia Stitt, one of my besties. Georgia is an amazing composer, musical director, composer. She does a million things. And she just finished doing musically directing 13, the movie musical that they just shot in Toronto. But she and I have collaborated together, and I just find her work and her as a person to be spectacular. She's also the head of an organization called Maestra, which, when you were talking about, are there more women coming into the field? She is in the music field, in the musical theater field, developing and helping promote and support musicians, composers, conductors, musical directors throughout the country, and maybe even bigger than that, throughout the world, to connect people and support them in their field. And she's a killer.
Isn't it great when you have an opportunity to work with and collaborate with people like that?
Yeah. Yeah. When we met, the first time we met, we were like, oh, let's do stuff.
That's it. You're it. That's it. Here's another great shot.
There's Jeff Perry, who I met through my friend Alexandra Billings backstage at Wicked. That is March the 10th of 2020. So that was
just around the time.
It was literally 2 days before the world stopped. I got to see my friend Alex was in Wicked on Broadway. She's going back to it. And she and Jeff had worked together, and he happened to be at the same show.
So back then, a lot of the folks who have passed through here on the Jim Masters Show Live have been talking about what was happening, right at the time when the world did come to a stop due to COVID and all. Many people, 2020, they've worked so hard. 2020 was supposed to be an incredible year, the year, big year, sold out, all of these things.
Yeah.
How about for you obviously I know too, even going to the television stations like with PBS and everything, I was just, even now still, I was just at PBS doing a shoot for an upcoming music concert special we were co-hosting, and the broadcast studios and offices, the whole thing is 6 floors. And of the 6 floors, 10 people still in the building.
Yeah.
The radio station still working out of their houses, broadcasting from home still, people are still getting acclimated to that. But when the world stopped, the studios paused, the production paused. Were you working on some major things at the time and then everything had to pause?
So it's such a crazy time. I was working on a show that was supposed to start production, and that went away. And I think it was the uncertainty that was so strange. Nobody knew, obviously, at the very beginning, nobody knew how long it was going to be. Nobody knew how long it was going to take to get through it. Nobody knew how it was going to go. And so everything in production, particularly because when you're in production, you're on top of each other, right? You said it takes a village. There are hundreds of people on a set, and they're all in close quarters and acting together. You're, sort of breathing with each other. So everything hit pause. I was fortunate that a couple of Hallmark Christmas movies came my way, and they were one of the first to go back into production in late summer. So that happened. And then we did what, it's a Zoom writer's room. So instead of a writer's room in person, which is one of my favorite things, it was about being on a bunch of boxes together and working stuff out. And I felt really fortunate to have that chance to still work on staff and create something. But at the same time, there's something very different in terms of the energy and the way that you creatively build something that's much harder on Zoom.
It's a different experience, isn't it? I know a lot of performers, friends of mine, or performers who have tried to adapt to the internet and the technology and all of it. And in the beginning part of it, I'd say the spring of last year, the summer, maybe even to the fall, they were like, gee, this is really the only way I can stay connected and I can do my thing. But then they would start to express they need to get back on stage. They need to get back on set. They really need that energy. I was sort of fortunate only because I'm used to studios and technology and equipment and, being with the television and radio and all. So it wasn't that hard of a transition, although I really do love being in a television studio or at a radio station or stage or film set. There's just something about that. I mean, I still do love if it's a blockbuster movie, when you go to the movie theater and it's the surround sound and the popcorn, the experience, the whole experience of it, the communal nature of it all too. But I know for some it was the whole Zoom thing was, this is great. Okay, now I'm good with it.
Well, it's, there's a certain magic that you have in a room with other people, particularly as a writer, where on Zoom, it's much more formal. You find yourself, oh, don't let me enter, and you can't, there's a flow that's missing, and it's so much more formalized and structured. And part of what's so great about being a creative person is it's not, and so you get to, the flow sort of goes away. The other thing that I miss, particularly in a writer's office, what happens a lot is you'll have time in the room, but then you'll kind of wander down the hallway to get coffee and run into somebody and you go, oh, I've been thinking about that scene, and you solve something, or you go walk into their office and sit on their couch and you sort of banter something through. You can't just walk down the hall and sit on somebody's couch right now. So
no, and if you walk away from your chair, then there's an empty screen. As you go get the coffee in your kitchen. I'll be back in a minute.
Or you put your little name up. And you walk away. It's definitely a different, it's funny, the Right Stuff that I worked on Zoom, I had only met the showrunner. I'd never met any of the other writers, and I've still never met them in person. So it's just a strange thing not to have that communal experience, but thankfully we got work done, and there was work and it happened. So I feel really fortunate for that.
And it's starting to come back, right? It's like we were talking about how New York with Broadway, September, but God. Hollywood and California already turned the switch on, and it's back, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. I worked on, I just yesterday found out that a movie that I worked on for Hallmark got a green light. So that will be coming up in this November or December. So there's other things like that are brewing, which is fun.
And there's a lot of use of Canada, right? We were talking about Vancouver and Toronto for location shooting quite a bit during all of this too.
Well, it's a financial consideration on many levels, which is the tax credit that they give you for working in Canada offsets so much of production that it's hard it's hard to turn it down. But there was also, they did, because Canada was having a harder time rolling out their vaccine, some of that production went away in the last year. So that I know that there was a movie that I wrote that shot in Utah, and there was one other, in Louisiana. So there are certain parts of the United States, Georgia, Utah, Louisiana, where they have good tax breaks there too. And so companies feel confident about moving to them to produce there, so that we have sort of, under an American umbrella, they understand what the vaccine protocol and all the different things are going to be here. So, everybody's just figuring it out.
That's what it is. Are there locations that do you get to go to a lot of the different locations when there's other scenes being shot elsewhere? Does it help you to be on location where they're filming to enhance,
Yeah, I've been, Not for TV movies, because they're sort of fast and dirty. They go very quickly, and they just they shoot them and they get out. And that you're relying on the executive producer, the producer on set, and those people are geniuses because they just like, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
TV series is a little different. Often writers go to set. I've been fortunate with, I think it's 2 productions that have been shot here in LA. So like the writer's room is here and then the set's down here and you just get to go down to set.
Right.
That's really handy. And then you get a little bit more access to writers, a little bit more access to production. You all are constantly eating lunch together when you're in production because, they just make catering for everybody and you just come down and eat so that you have access to people in a different way, which is great. And you can talk about stuff that's working or not working. On other shows, I've gone to Vancouver, I've gone to Atlanta, I've gone to, I'm trying to think of where else. Those are the top ones off the top of my head. And it's every time you go, in Chicago, of course. There you get a lot out of being on set because you can do a lot on the fly if something's not working in the moment, rather than them having to call, back to LA and be like, this isn't working. What do we do? It's great to have a person on set that you can turn to and go like, hey, what do you think? And that person's in charge and has the authority of the showrunner to say, I think we should do this.
Any locations that are dream locations for you that you wouldn't mind being sent off to with the crew?
There was a Hallmark movie that shot in Bali, and I was like, I'd like to get on that. I still don't think they took the writer, but yeah, man, I'd like to. And there are a million places I'd love to go: Southeast Asia, North Africa. I don't know, all over Europe again. Take me, I'll go. And at this point, I'm like, I would love to get out of the house. So
yeah. Well, you're always working, and you've been working for a long time and earning your keep, and we have proof of that. Working 1984.
Oh man. Oh my God. So that is college. That is a production of Working, the musical, based on Studs Terkel. So on the left is Karen Moncrief. That's me. That's Robin Peterman, and that's Andy Paris. That's I think the rehearsal room. That may have been the day we tried on those jackets. That's from the number Love and Al the Wizard. Oh my God. That's a long time ago.
That is
great.
Funny. That is
great.
Great. It's a great shot. Yeah.
Right. Again, there's like a couple where it's just me and 2 other girls doing like backup. That's another one of those.
So what are some of the things that you have that are coming up that you're excited about, whether it's, ongoing productions that you're a part of or other things that you might individually be working on?
Yeah, I'm actually really excited. I've been doing, like I said, some developing. And so I have a pilot with Bad Robot, which is J.J. Abrams' company that we're developing. I have another one that I'm just about to sign a deal on, so I can't tell you anything about it. And another one that I'm about to go out and pitch. So it's been a great time. 2020, thankfully, I've been able to get work, but also I've been able to develop stuff of my own so that I'm ready to go out and pitch to the market so that hopefully I can build a show of my own. So that's really what's on the hot. And then the green light for the Hallmark movie that came out yesterday. That came in yesterday.
That's amazing. That's cool.
Those are the things.
Alessandra was asking, she's in North Carolina. She says, have you done anything in the film industry in Wilmington, North Carolina at their film studios there?
I know about Wilmington. I haven't. Ironically, my husband, Lindsay, is from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. So I have spent a decent amount of time. I would say I've been in North Carolina twice a year since I was in my late 20s. I love it there. I would love to shoot in Wilmington. I hear great things about the film sets there, about the production there. So I'll keep my fingers crossed that I get to.
So you obviously love what you do. You've been doing this, a long time, and people love working with you, and your reputation, precedes you. It's extraordinary, and you have this wonderful, collaboration in many ways with Lindsay, which is fantastic. Yeah. What are, in addition to Lindsay, of course, and the love of the work, what are some of those additional blessings and joys in your life that propel you to do this extraordinary work, which informs, educates, and entertains us all?
That's a terrific question. I've been incredibly lucky. I have an amazing family that I grew up in Baltimore with. My mom, who's still alive, who's incredible. I think she's watching. Hello, Mom.
What's her name?
Her name is Gloria Greenspun. Hello, Gloria.
Gloria, welcome. You're a
Um,
lovity. She's a lovity.
she is a love and a lovety. And, you know, two older brothers who have always been incredibly supportive and come to see shows. You know, when I was, you know, the third Corrine from the left, they've been coming to see me since, you know, way, way, way back when, and always been incredibly supportive. So them, and then I have these two insane children who are now 18 and 14. One who's about to be a sophomore in college, one who's about to be a sophomore in high school, and they
Oh, that
are
went
also,
fast, huh?
oh boy,
Oh boy. In
oh
a New
boy,
York
like
minute.
just like this. And they are also incredibly supportive, and they feed me and my emotional life like, you know, nobody's business.
What are
So
their interests? Are they interested in what you're doing or Lindsay is doing?
So our older ones, our son, whose name is Huckleberry, he couldn't care less about the theater, and I think that's for the best. He is nuts about sports. He loves sports. That's what he's studying. He wants to go into sports management and business, and he's already been doing it. He's interned all over. He's literally interned all over the world at this point. He was supposed to, unfortunately, be at the Tokyo Olympics as an intern right now, but he's not. So he's sports all day long. Great kid. And then my daughter, Sadie, who is just the best. She's artistic and creative. She isn't a performer, but she dances. She's so design oriented and loves, you know, interior design and making things and putting clothes together and jewelry and hair and makeup, like all of these wonderful things.
Yeah.
Super, always has been. She's a great creative beast.
Gee, I wonder where she gets that from.
Well, you know, and also she doesn't believe it, but she's a good writer. Don't tell her I said so. I keep telling her, she's like, I'm not doing that. I'm like, fine, yeah. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's okay.
Right. Writers Guild, get ready.
That's
room
right.
for one more.
There's room for one more.
You know, it's funny because I was saying, as far as what we've all experienced in our lives collectively and individually with the pandemic, the social unrest, the political craziness, and the economy, there was only 3 people that I knew of that would be able to write a script that mimics what we've been experiencing. And those would have been Stephen King, Steven Spielberg, or Rod Serling.
Yeah. I think you're probably right.
Those would be the 3 that
you know, it's interesting. I know a lot of writers who have been trying to figure out how to respond to the current situation, because there are shows that are, you know, that they're writing right now. They're writing new episodes of TV, and it's a challenge. It's like a good, healthy, exciting challenge to figure out how to be relevant. Yeah, I think that's exactly right. How to be relevant, how to be entertaining at a moment like this, which you want to be, how to provide thought, escapism, like all of those wonderful things that writers can do.
How do you do that when there is, like, you see where sometimes comedians and comedians sometimes struggle with bringing in comedy that has any tie to events that weren't the best, tragic events, whatever it is, too soon, all that kind of stuff. I imagine you guys must wrangle with some of that as well. Do we include that in the script? Is it too soon? How do you work through all that?
I mean, one brick at a time. It really is about being as sensitive as possible to the political situation, or the culture that you're in. What has happened over the last probably 2 years, maybe a little bit more, is not only have writers' rooms been more welcoming of women, but you see many more diverse voices, people of color, different expression of gender, different expression of sexuality, so that not only are the stories that you're writing trying to reflect the world, but the people who are writing them are also reflective of the world. So that I've said a lot of times, I've been in rooms where there are, I've been the only woman, I've been one of 2 women, I've been, the only, there's only one other person, there's only one person of color. Like, that's really changing. And so what happens is the writer's room gets to be reflective of the world in general. And the conversation that happens in the room is about real things. Even if you're doing lighter fare, it still has to be reflective of the world that we're in. And so I think it's one of the things I like best about being in a writer's room is those conversations are deep and real. And if you've got a showrunner who really wants to address stuff, you can have complicated, thorny conversations and also find time for lightness and some levity
Yeah.
in all of that, which is necessary. I think, one of the greatest things that writers provide in the best of all ways is a vehicle for empathy.
Yeah.
Right, is a way to understand the world, is a way to understand other people, is a way to look at the world in a new way or hear from a different perspective. And so the more of that you can put in one room, the more you're reflective of the world in general as you write. And so I think that's been happening more and more and more every year. And it's never been more important than it is right now.
Absolutely. What would you say to somebody watching this show live or perhaps in the archives? And for those watching, you can see this episode and on 430 episodes we've done 7 days a week live. You know what that's like. Bang, bang, bang.
That's crazy.
And if you love it, you just do it. And live too. I love live.
Live is crazy.
Live is crazy. I just love live. It's it's just, you know how it is. Anything can happen. The adrenaline, you've got to be in your zone. All senses are heightened. It's just it's a sport to me. It's the adrenaline is really going, and you got to make sure that you keep the train on the track and everything's going well. So it's exciting. But if somebody's watching this now or later in the archives and they want to, dabble in this, maybe go to school for it as a writer, performer, whatever it may be, but especially a writer this day and age, obviously, the world of television has changed greatly and continues to evolve. Now you do have, you used to have the 3 networks and you had CBS, NBC, ABC, and PBS, and then cable, and now Netflix and Hulu and Roku and Amazon Prime and Disney Plus and Paramount Plus, all these different things. What would you say to somebody who wants to go into television writing and or playwriting at this time?
So the best and the best advice is write. Figure out what your voice is. Write as much as you possibly can. The really interesting thing about what's going on right now in the writing world is there's never been more content, right? There's never been a need for more content because of all of these platforms. It's not just even the networks, it's YouTube, and I think PlayStation has a scripted, and like all these different places are creating scripted television. But then there's also web series and podcasts and all of these different platforms that you can find your way into. So it's never been a better time to write because there are so many outlets. And the other piece of it is you can self-produce, right? If you have an iPhone, you can now create your own movies. There's iMovie, there's all these different ways that you can shoot your own stuff. It's so easy to create, produce, and then upload your own work. Issa Rae is a great example. She put up a web series and now she's an empire, right? Of Insecure, and then all of the other millions of things that she's creating. And that began with her writing stuff that she just had to get down. She just had to. And then she put it up on, I think it was on YouTube, right? And then somebody caught that attention, and she had a web series, and the web series turned into Insecure. And so there are so many different ways. The only way to get there is to write what you believe in and what you're passionate about. Don't ever write, I think this is a CBS series that they may want to buy. No, don't strategize it, right? Write the thing that means something to you, that's passionate. And it may wind up that that's just a sample that you use to get the next job, but that's how you learn how you do what you do. That's your voice. That's how you learn your voice.
How has writing changed, would you say, over the years too? I mean, sometimes you hear, there's different factions of society that will say, these great shows, This Is Us, and some of these others, that brilliant writing, great acting, the whole bit, you've got the whole bowl of wax. And then sometimes, and it could be generational too, you'll have some people say, the golden age was then, the Dick Van Dyke Show, those writers, and all of these fantastic shows, iconic shows that we see re-airing on Decades, Antenna TV, Cozy TV, MeTV. I mean, when you watch them, they're all phenomenal. But some people that say, those were the best days, the writing was great, everything was. What do you say to that when people bring that up?
That writing is great. That
Yeah.
writing is spectacular. And they're classics for a reason. You know, there's a reason why everybody wants to keep watching them. They are so entertaining. I think what's different now is the ability to address different issues, bigger issues, delve more deeply, be a little more, to dig a little more into truth, right? The Dick Van Dyke Show is amazing, but if you were writing a thing about comedy writers today, you get hacks. You know what I mean? So it's like also wonderful, but not the Dick Van Dyke Show.
Right.
So I think that that's the whole idea, is that each year that we've had more and more content and more, you know, venues to put out work, that you get this chance. Because the other piece of it is you can be more niche now, right? It used to be you had these 3 networks and PBS that they were called broadcast for a reason. They were broad cast. They had to appeal to a broad group of people.
Yeah.
Now, and this happened around the time I was working on *Halt and Catch Fire*, which was on AMC, which is the time shortly after Mad Men and just after Breaking Bad over there, that the numbers have changed significantly. The numbers of people who tune in to any given show are so much smaller than they ever were, but they're content with a certain number of people if they fit the right group that they want to have as their audience. So the ability to go much deeper in a single lane, because you don't have to do broadcast, right? It's just, it's available to you in a way that it never was back then.
Less generic than maybe it used to be, right? About common everyday things. And you're right about the numbers too. I think, what was it? When little Ricky was born on I Love Lucy, like 50 million people tuned into CBS that night. It was like appointment viewing, iconic, you know, it was like the talk of the country type thing.
The episode of MASH, right? The finale of MASH, things, you know, the finale of Seinfeld, things like that. Those cultural moments, I think the closest one is probably the finale of Game of Thrones, right?
Game of Thrones,
is probably the closest we'll get, but that was probably, I'm going to guess, half of, you know, what the MASH finale was. But that's because not everybody subscribes to HBO, and it wasn't on free TV, and, you know, not everybody that wasn't their jam, you know? So it's a different world. You know, it's not good or bad either way. I love that. Oh God, I could sit down and watch Mary Tyler Moore and all of those shows back to back without stopping.
It's incredible. Decades this weekend just did a whole binge weekend of Love American Style. Remember that?
That was I'm dating myself, but that was the show that, like, when I had a babysitter and my parents went out on Saturday nights, that's what they let me stay up for.
Right, because exactly. And they didn't know, the babysitter allowed it, but the parents, the kids would be in bed. You know, it was too late for those, you know. Topics are not for you.
That, and then my dad would let me stay up and watch the Johnny Carson show, which was my favorite. I loved that. But those were the ones. But oh my God, Love American Style. I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah, all these shows. I said Paramount Pictures Productions.
That's great.
So you're loving the ride. You're having a good time. You're loving it. Any thoughts of writing a book about what you've experienced? Anything?
I really haven't. I'm not, I love to talk about the work that I do, and I love to talk to people who are interested in it, but I don't have a book in me.
You don't have the need to have to like tell, right? Exactly.
No. And the other piece of it is I left prose behind. Like, I used to write short stories and stuff when I was in high school and in college, but it's funny. I had an acting teacher in college who was really quite brilliant, who had us keep a journal. And he wanted us to eavesdrop on people's conversations and then transcribe them.
Yeah. Look what Sherry says. Grandma wouldn't let my grandfather watch Love American Style. So her grandmother wouldn't let her grandfather even watch Love American.
That's amazing.
That is funny.
So he had this thing where he had us transcribe other people's conversations. And I really started from that moment thinking in dialogue. That's how I hear the work. And I left the descriptive prose, even the stuff that I have to write in a script where it's like, you know, we come in on a coffee shop and it looks like, I hate writing that stuff. I just like when the people talk.
Do you have the ability to visualize things in advance of them happening, well in advance as you're writing, or is that happening as you're writing?
You know, it's a little bit of both. I have what I consider to be a weird mind-body connection between my brain and my fingers because I type really fast, so I can type almost as fast as I think. And I know friends that dictate dialogue, and I can't do it. It has to be in my fingers. And so sometimes I'll know exactly what I'm doing when I go in to do it. And sometimes I figure it out as I'm writing. And I like both, but I really love when you figure it out when you're writing, and you're in that zone, it's really joyful. It's really the creative process.
It's that aha moment, right?
It is when you're in that little zone. It's great because suddenly a character will say something and you're like, oh, I didn't see that coming. Right. And it's really fun when that happens.
How about teaching others? That in the works as
well?
I've
done a lot of that, actually. Yeah. I taught, before I left Chicago, I taught at Northwestern in the creative writing for the media program. I taught playwriting and screenwriting. And then when I came out here, I taught at UC Irvine. I taught playwriting mostly. And before I even left Chicago, I was teaching at the Chicago Academy for the Arts. So I was teaching acting and directing and things. I love teaching.
Yeah.
I love it. I miss it. So I've done a number of master classes where they're sort of more one-off kind of things, but I haven't had the time to be able to just do a straight class, but I love teaching. I miss it a lot. My mom was a teacher.
Ah, really? What did she teach?
She taught preschool.
Is that in Baltimore?
In Baltimore.
In Baltimore. Wow. That's cool. Huh? Sure.
Yep.
I imagine very proud of you too, the family.
I like to refer to my mother as my East Coast publicity director.
I know how that is. Yeah. Do you get the ticker tape parade when you go back to Baltimore?
A little bit. I do, but always she sends out all the emails and promotional things. And when's this going to be on so I can tell my friends?
She gets you on Eyewitness News on WJZ 13.
Oh my God, yes.
She's home.
She'd be so happy.
Helicopters over the house.
Yes, it's true. She's a great publicity director.
Nothing better, I tell you. Well, you're definitely blessed. You're loving the ride, and I think, in addition to being entertained tonight, I think people learned a lot about the process. And now, when they watch the shows, whether it's television or plays, things of that nature, they have a deeper appreciation of the process, how it all works, and how a lot of these puzzle pieces, fit together to make it all happen. This was fantastic, my friend. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and the show met whatever expectations you had were met as well.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me. I so appreciate it.
The pleasure is all mine, and we will definitely keep the porch light on for you and spread the word about the Jim Master Show Live. I would love that. And somebody who's sort of my sidekick, who usually shows up right around this time, just wanted to say that he had a great time tonight as well. George Burns is in the house.
Oh, hello, George.
George is here, and
thank you for joining us.
He said, "You're doing a great job, kiddo." He's got a cigar too, and he's got his hanky. Yeah, good stuff. Can't do wrong. Remember when he played God in the movie too?
I do.
We got God on our side. Jamie, this was awesome.
Thank you so much.
I think there's a couple of lovely comments coming in here. Christopher in Ohio says, tonight's show was a college course. Perfect. Merlin in Canada, in Ontario, says, thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
And Sherry Larson says, thank you, Jamie, as well.
Thank you.
And Christopher also says, live is levity. Yes, it is. And Alessandra in North Carolina, this show was great. Thank you very much. And also, thank you so much for coming, for joining us here on the show as well. This was terrific, Jamie. I hope we get a chance to break bread, maybe meet at some point, East Coast, West Coast.
Yep.
It's a small world. And again, really a pleasure to have you here, Maureen. This has been such an enjoyable conversation. Thank you again, Jamie, for being here. Here's to your continued success. And I second that emotion as well.
Thank you, Maureen.
You be well. You take care. Oh, love Celtic woman, Chris B. There, I got the plants watered, and I'm back just in time to say, glad to see you, Jamie. God bless and stay strong. And a good wrap. Now you're part of the Lovely family.
I feel it.
You can't go wrong with that, right?
No, I feel it. Thank you so much.
Hey, Jamie, this was awesome. Say hi to Lindsay for me.
I will.
And keep doing what you're doing and entertaining and informing us. And one more here. Bobby says, of course, your mother gave me the website. And I love the interview. Betty Eckhouse, thank you very much.
Thank you, Betty.
Jamie's here. Jim's here. This is the Jim Master Show Live, Entertainment Lifestyle Talk Show series. I hope you'll watch again. And Betty, it's good to have you. Is she a friend of your mom?
She is.
She's nice.
She's a
Nice.
wonderful friend.
Welcome, Betty.
That's so
All
great.
right. Jamie, as I always say to all the guests, now go stretch those legs.
Yes, they will.
And thanks for being with us. You were really a delight and a pleasure. And I hope
Thank
we
you.
do chat again soon. We'll keep the
Thank
porch
you, me
light on
too.
for you. All right.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good night.
Thanks, you too. Thanks, all the lovities.
Absolutely. Take care.
Thanks, you too.
Bye-bye. She not amazing? Jamie Pachino. Yes. And you learned something. Yes. You learned a lot tonight, didn't you? And Kathleen Walker says, thanks for hanging with us, Jamie. Kathleen is in New York City as well. Really cool show. I love conversation. You know me, I'm a conversationalist and I'm communal. So I love all kinds of conversations and entertainment and so much more. And tonight you learned a little bit about the television industry and, of course, theater in a different way from the writer's perspective. You know, you've heard a lot from singers and actors and performers of all different levels, directors, producers. Our show, we have everybody on the show, not just in entertainment, not just in television or film, you know, chefs and inspiring people, sports. I mean, we have it all. But tonight you heard from the writing perspective and all that goes into it. Really, really cool. And many of you have been commenting, you're very familiar with Jamie's work. You've seen a lot of the productions that she's been involved in and continues to be involved in. And I think that's very, very cool. Let's see, Alessandra, checking again with the Lovities here live. Those of you who are watching live, thanks so much for commenting and being with us. If you're just watching, but you're not commenting, you're valuable too. We appreciate you. And if you're watching this later on, when we're not live, it's good to have you with us as well. Spread the lovity, tell everybody about our show. We're here 7 days a week. Whew. Did I sign up for that? 7 days a week. Because I'm busy, you know, in the daytime with my production and hosting and television work and radio work. So we love coming here at night and doing this for you guys. Alessandra says, this show was such a pleasure. Thank you, Alessandra. Sherry says, she is an amazing, talented woman. I second that emotion. And Wozniak, Jacksonville, Florida. Thank you, Jamie, for a wonderful evening. Absolutely. And Kathy Short in Cleveland. Good night, Jamie. And good night, everyone from Anne and Merlin. Jamie is going to get a kick out of this. Merlin in Ontario says, I don't want to be a showrunner. Yeah, it takes a special person to be a showrunner, Merlin, and you don't want to be a showrunner. So we now know that. Kathy says, very interesting show tonight. Enjoy the rest of your evening as well. And this show was a pleasure. Great to have all of you here. I do want to let you know, as I mentioned, we have a brilliant guest tomorrow, a pianist and lyricist, composer. Alex Rybeck is going to be with us live tomorrow on the Jim Masters Show Live. We're looking forward to that. Also coming up on Thursday, guess who's here? He was on The Voice, and his mentor was Adam Levine. Billy Gilman is going to be with us. Very popular Billboard charting artist. Billy Gilman's going to be with us live on Thursday. Yes, and that's just a few of the folks that are going to be stopping by the Jim Masters Show Live Entertainment Lifestyle Talk Show series, where we're bringing back the lost art of conversation. Don't forget, folks, to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We would love that. It's the channel you're watching right now. It's easy to do. The red button says subscribe. Click the notification bell. That way you're always alerted when we have our episodes. You'll know in advance, plus our surprise pop-up shows and so much more. And tell everybody you know about our show and drop a comment. Click the like, thumbs up button there on our YouTube channel. We would absolutely love that. We appreciate all of you being here. And a couple other things that we always do here on the show. We always say, don't forget to smile. Don't forget to share the lovity. Really important to do that. That's sort of developed on our show. And find your Zen place. Now more than ever, find that Zen place. Mine is, of course, with family and friends. That's always paramount. Cycling. I'm a cyclist. I love tennis. I love music. I love writing as well. And all kinds of things, sports, gardening, you name it. But the ocean, being here on the East Coast, always near the ocean, swimming, surfing, boogie boarding, sailing it, riding, you know, my bike on it, whatever it is. You got to drag me in and out of that ocean. I love it. And so find your Zen place. And my work in television, radio, stage, and film as well is another Zen place, like it is for Jamie. When she's writing, she's in her zone. She loves her work. For me, same thing in the industry, on air, on camera, behind the scenes. Love it as well. So find your Zen place and share it with the world. The Jim Masters Show Live is here for you on our YouTube channel. If you missed an episode, well, guess what? You can see this and 430 more on our YouTube channel at Jim Masters TV. They're all there for you. And spread the lovity, spread the word about our show. We would love that. You guys are really, really great about doing that. We'll check a couple more comments before we wrap up. Christine Clifton in North Carolina says, thanks for this fantastic conversation with Jamie. She is so talented. I agree. I was listening, Jim. Good night, Jim. And all lovely hugs to you as well, Christine, one of our faithful, lovely viewers in North Carolina, USA. And Kathleen in New York City says, have a great night. Good night, all. Lovely hugs to you as well, Kathleen. And Maureen in Arizona says, Jim, you did it again. I know I can always count on turning a cruddy day. She works in the medical field in Arizona, so that can be a tough day, into a great evening by being in Lovely Hall with you, your amazing guests, and of course, my Lovity family. Thanks for those kind words, Maureen. We really appreciate that. That means we're doing something right here at the Jim Masters Show Live, and I love connecting with all of you. I'm very viewer-centric. I've always been that way. I love, engagement with people. And thanks for those words. Good night, everyone. Thank you, Jim. You're fantastic. Thank you very much. Now, is there any way we can print that out and I can put that on highway billboards? Thanks, Sherry in Kansas. I love that. And Alessandra says, oh my God, Jim, you're spoiling all of us with all these guests. My pleasure. We work hard, here at the show, and it's my pleasure. My pleasure. Great show as always. Thanks, Jim. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Kathleen, you have a good night. Ann in Florida, good night to you as well. And love Celtic Woman Chris B says, thanks, Jim, for this show series. Really love your interviewing style. It really is Lovely Hall here. God bless and stay safe, stay strong, Jim. And God bless all the Lovities here. I appreciate that. I've always, this is all me. What you're seeing here is not a heightened version of me. Maybe there's lights and there's, we got the set and it's exciting and all, but this is really the Jim you'd see in the supermarket too. And, it's what I studied in school. It's what I've been doing for years, but also I've always paid heed to and great respect to those who came before, who sort of paved the way, the Dick Cavett's, the Johnny Carsons, like Jamie's the Johnny Carson, and Dick Clark and Regis Philbin, some of the real great hosts and presenters with good personality and warmth and levity, and you learn something. Merv Griffin, Mike Douglas. And also, today, I think Ryan Seacrest is fantastic. He's a great host. You can throw anything at Ryan and he takes the ball and runs with it. Thinking in that way too with my work as a host and on-air person. Love it. And so I appreciate those words greatly, really. And you guys are truly the best. Thanks so much for joining us, gang. We toast you. We will be back tomorrow live for another great episode. Alex Ryback will be here. Great music and more coming up. So for all of us, you guys have a great night. We love you all. Take care. Spread the word about our show. We'll see you on the next one right here on the Jim Masters Show Live. Have a good night. Go stretch those legs, gang. And we'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.